Good morning. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. But you can call me Pajama Grandma. In case we haven't met yet, go ahead and put hashtag pajama in the comments below so that I know you're new here and that you haven't seen me, and so I can say hi. I like social media because it's my way of interacting with you if I know that we haven't met yet. Today, Daily Scare Share from Do One Thing a Day That Scares You. Today is day 141. 141. Crazy, right? So 140 days already, I've gotten on Facebook Live and shared one thing a day that scares me. What can you do today to stretch your comfort zone? For me, that was stretching my comfort zone. Getting on a Facebook Live, talking, and sharing things that scare me, that is pretty comfort zone stretching. And it might not seem like a lot, and I do a lot more things than that to stretch my comfort zone and move me toward what it is that I want. But I found that I was in a rut. Early this year, my daughter found this book on my bookshelf and realized that I'd only done a couple days of it. And I'd done maybe, I don't remember how many, I'd have to count, but not very many. An embarrassingly few number of days for a 365-day book. So she also had noticed that I had gotten into sort of a just going through the motions of living my life and being comfortable way of living, and knew I was capable of so much more, and I know I'm capable of so much more. We're all capable of so much more than we're living generally. I mean, maybe 1% of the population is giving it their all and really getting every bit of juice out of their life, but for the most part, the rest of us are going through the motions. We might be trying and striving, but for the most part, we're just going through the motions. Sorry, I need my magnifying glass to read messages when they pop on like that. We know Pajama Grandma needs her magnifying glass, right? I should say not needs. My eyes are awesome. I have terrific 20/20 vision. Well, what do we got today in the Daily Scare Share? Today is one of those fun type quiz checkbox days, and this one says, rate your school anxiety from 1 to 10, even if you're not in school. Well, I think even the kids might be getting out of school this week or next week for sure, most of them. In my town, they are out really early this year because they're building a new high school, so they needed the high school kids to get out of the school as soon as possible, so they started really early last year, but they got off really early this year too, which is always kind of fun and interesting for the kids. Like my fat finger in there when I have to scratch my nose. Yeah, interesting, right? So school anxiety, let's rate these from 1 to 10. I'm going to grab my pen and I'm going to actually do this. We'll do this together. School anxiety, attending the first day of class. Well, I always got excited about attending the first day of class, so I'm going to say a 1. It might have been a 2 or a 3 in high school or something, and I think probably my freshman year of college I was a little nervous to show up for the first day of class, and then it might have been a 3 or a 4, but I was always more excited than I was nervous, because I'm one of those weird people. I love learning. I loved going to college. I loved going to school. You always look back and it seems so stressful when you're going through it, but actually it's probably the least stressful time of my entire life. So I would love to be able to go back and just go to school and not have to worry or think about anything else. Arriving on time. Anxiety of that 1 to 10. I'm not a big anxiety person, so I don't think I would say anxiety, but you know, if you're late for class, it's embarrassing, and there's always that professor that likes to embarrass anyone that's late for class. Now, frankly, I think they should just thank you for showing up. But whatever, I think a lot of people with their egos take it as being disrespectful. So anxiety over arriving on time, again, I don't have much anxiety over that, but let's say a 2, just to make some variety. And I learned early on that arriving on time isn't that hard. You just got to get up a few minutes earlier. And you do have to take into account, you know, if you're far away and driving to class, traffic. Are you going to have traffic? If you miss the bus, what are you going to do? Things like that. So arriving on time is simply a matter of planning ahead and getting up early and thinking about what could happen and being prepared. Now, I'm sure when I was younger and I missed the bus, because we missed the bus sometimes, then it was stressful. But again, overall, anxiety of school, pretty low for me. I loved school. Except junior high. I didn't love junior high. it was very awkward. Awkward years, and I had actually braces and glasses, and it was just that awkward transition years. Performing in front of the class or in front of your classmates, that'd probably get a 5 back in school days, but now if you're thinking performing in front of your peers or classmates, if I were in a class or a seminar, performing in front of them, yeah, it would probably still get a 4, but not too bad. I mean, I'll do it. I don't love it, but I'll do it. And I guess I used to get nervous in college if we were doing group projects and things, and I was the one that had to present. Preparing enough. That almost gets a 0. I have no anxiety about that because I'm a preparer. I'm actually an over-preparer, so we're going to give that one a 1. Now, and I learned that over the years of college and things too. I know early on in college I probably wasn't as good a preparer, but I learned that the more prepared you are, the less anxiety and the less stress it is. If you've studied all semester for a test, then when finals came, it was not a big deal because you knew this stuff. If you didn't do anything and you waited to the last minute to write that paper, that was pretty anxiety-laden because you were staying up all night to get it done, and I am guilty of that. Being called on in class. That would probably give me a 3 or so for anxiety or nervousness because sometimes, again, it goes back to how prepared are you. If you're prepared for class, you don't mind being called on. If you're not prepared, if you didn't do your reading, if you didn't do your homework, if you didn't do the assignment, if you don't understand the assignment and you haven't asked for help, then that might go up to a 7 or 8, but I like to be prepared. Pop quizzes, again, it's a matter of preparedness. I'm trying to think back to my school and college days if I ever freaked out over pop quizzes. Now, let's give it a 2 because I'm sure there were some times that I was anxious over that. Taking final exams. Again, final exams, if you're prepared and you don't have to cram. And I remember, physics was really hard for me. I don't know why. I don't get physics. I still don't. If you throw something, it's going to land on the ground because there's gravity, right? If you drop something, it's going to go down. I don't get physics, and it's because it's the physical world and it should make sense, but to me it didn't make sense. Chemistry, biology, other sciences and maths, love them, totally get them, but physics was a mystery for me, so I remember physics finals did stress me out, but that's the only one. So the other ones, not so much. I'd say, 3 or 4 because it all depends on how much you've studied, how much you've paid attention. Did you go to class? Did you go to your classes? Showing up is 80% of life. Show up, listen, be awake, don't sleep, pay attention, don't be on your phone or daydreaming. Back then we didn't have cell phones, so it was a lot easier to pay attention. I did have one history class, though, where I had to sit front and center because the professor spoke in a monotone. And literally everybody who sat in the second row and behind fell asleep in that class. And I would be nodding off. That's why I picked the front center seat so that I could stay awake and pay attention. And they didn't have energy drinks back when I was in college either, so it was hard to stay awake for that guy. Receiving your grades. I pretty much always knew what my grades were going to be before I got them. And so I didn't really get anxious about that. I'm going to say it was kind of anticlimactic. So we'll go 3 for that, though, because sometimes, when you had to send the report cards home because the folks were helping you out, that would be a little anxiety-laden. But my grades were pretty good. Not so good my first couple years of college, but after that, I figured out how the system works and what I needed to do to get the grades I wanted, so that I wasn't anxious about them at all. Something scarier. I don't know. I guess if you had... I would say the social situations of school are probably scarier than school itself. And that is how you interact with other kids, how other kids interact with you. And let's be honest, school's pretty effing dysfunctional. But you know what? So is society. And it's reflected in our schools. And so I would say, if I'm thinking of the social situation and the cliques and the things that still form, crazily enough, and how some kids are ostracized for no reason. They're just different. And, God forbid should anyone be different in society. Not that we aren't all, we're all different for goodness sake. So how would we expect people to conform and be whatever other people think that they should be? Again, totally dysfunctional. So I would say I'm giving that a 7 because I think that the vast majority of what goes on in the school systems is extremely dysfunctional, and it's not preparing people to be good human beings and to be successful human beings when they leave the school system. And that applies as much to college as it does to our grade schools and our high school systems and our junior highs, whatever you want to call them. But again, I found school super exciting. I love school because I love learning. I'm one of those weird people that absolutely loves learning. I'm always learning something. I think every single day I am listening to something or reading something, mostly listening because reading is a challenge for me right now, but always absorbing more material and things that I can help me grow and be a better person because I'm all about how can I make the world a better place. So that's it. I loved school. I still do. I would say if I'm equating anything to school, it would be like maybe going to an industry conference or to a seminar or a training event. And I get a little nervous at those. The last big training event I went to was a couple months ago, and it's a big marketing event. And I actually went in my robes because I was becoming Pajama Grandma, and I was introducing that as part of my brand and who I am. And where better than at a marketing conference to test your marketing idea and your marketing strategy. But I'll admit, I was a little nervous going around in my robe. Now, it seems I was probably the most comfortable person physically at the entire event, but I was a little nervous going around in my bathrobe. Come on, that's stretching my comfort zone a lot. And that was at the beginning of this whole project. So I will admit I was nervous doing that, but it turned out okay. And it taught me a lot about what I'm trying to do with myself and my brand and who I am. And it also taught me that it's absolutely okay to be who you are. And the people that are okay with who I am, we're attracted to that. The people that aren't okay with being themselves, guess what? They're the ones that weren't attracted to it because they're afraid to be themselves. That's got nothing to do with me. It's got everything to do with them. And that's what we have to remember about other people judging us. When people judge us or tease us or make fun of us or criticize us or question us, it's never about us. It's always about them. So let's end on that note today. Go out, make it an awesome day. Think about these things. Think about your school and educational experience and how scary that was for you and what you can learn from that. Because if it was scary and you hated school, then that's here to show you something. Go out, make it an awesome day, and this Pajama Grandma will see you tomorrow. Bye.